So, what do we dredge up from the budget barrel today? MW. Oh, hell yeah, I love MechWarrior. Wait, Most Wanted? I've been tricked! Yeah, I used that joke before, but fuck it, I played this game before. Keeping with their tradition of beating a horse that was never truly alive to begin with, Fun Labs decided to use their In Harm's Way engine yet again to farm out this game, 2003's US Most Wanted, Nowhere to Hide. I'm getting a little tired of what I've started calling the Harm engine, named for the first game to use the engine, 2001's In Harm's Way, and also for the irreparable harm it has dealt my psyche over the last year. I know what you're saying. This came out 2 years after In Harm's Way. Surely they've improved and refined the engine and added new stuff. No, don't be an idiot. Which isn't to say they didn't change it. They did. Oh, how they changed it. Improved, though, I'm not so sure. Before we get into that, we have to start with the box. We always start with the box. Right off the bat, I want to hurl into a bucket because the cover art is gross. This crappy-looking CG render makes it look like a mid-90s game. In Harm's Way and Razor Unit had boring cover art, but at least it was cover art. Plus, the font they used for the title makes it look like it's going to be a Western game. Why else would they have a bullseye for an O? Unlike Secret Service, there's no inside flap with tantalizing blurbs, so we'll go straight to the back. The layout on the back actually isn't half bad. I kind of like that crosshair-style split-up image, though you'll notice that none of these 4 images is actually a screenshot, which worries me. They can run, but they can't hide. I'm assuming in the game you play as a US Marshal and hunt down criminals on the Most Wanted list. Sounds pretty cool. The blurbs about the game features, not as cool. Detailed realistic damage system and brain-tingling detective work both sound interesting and original, but there's also this. 3 modes of movement: stealth, jog, and sprint. So what you're telling me is you can walk, crouch walk, and run, just like in every game made since 1996. How does that qualify as a feature? The aesthetic of the game is very dark, as you can see from the screenshot of the player character straight up executing a guy. Cheery. The back cover also has a few extremely jingoistic and vaguely disturbing lines. Hunt down the scum of the earth, but that's what you live for. I live to kill. Deliver the fugitives dead, not alive. In the Most Wanted universe, US Marshals are like badass mercenaries that take no prisoners. Dirty cops are the only kind of cops, and deadly force the only kind of force. Or maybe it's the normal universe and you don't actually play as a US Marshal. Oh well, let's boot this thing up. Most Wanted opens with a dark quote from Hemingway. This is actually quite intriguing. Most Wanted could be a look into the mind of somebody who hunts and kills people at the behest of the law. It could be, but it's not. Most Wanted has less of a story than In Harm's Way or Razor Unit. The premise of Most Wanted is something like this. Yep. The main menu is not what I've come to expect from Fun Labs. It's ugly and static. Being a Harm Engine game, Most Wanted is surprisingly adaptable. You can crank the settings in the options menu and choose pretty much any resolution you'd like, which I think is awesome. Playing a game from 2003, or 2001 if you count the age of the engine and not the game, in full 1080p is wicked cool. Since these games have always let you pick up enemy weapons to supplement your arsenal, it's perplexing that they let you shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak, by turning those off. You can start a new career path, and even have the option to branch it like in Secret Service. Still a useless option, but an option nonetheless, after which you hop right into the first mission, without a briefing. No, there is no briefing before the mission, and during the mission there's no way to pull up an objectives list or map. Instead you get a stupidly short summary about the level before you start, and then some red text pops up periodically to tell you what to do. Is it a pager? Text transcribed from a radio? Inner monologue? The answer is far more sinister, but we'll get to that in time. The first mission is actually a training mission. Alright. Wait. Randall? My name's not Randall, it's Roland, you stupid game. This is the only information you get about your character's identity. He's called Randall. That one line of red text serves as the game's story and background. In the training mission, they teach you how to use the multi-tool item to open locked doors, and then have you find a hidden safe with some evidence inside. It's pretty simplistic for brain-tingling detective work, but if they build on it, it could be a great way to break up the shooting missions. Most Wanted does use what I call the harm engine. The lighting effects and world geometry will look instantly familiar to anyone who's played Razor Unit or In Harm's Way, but it uses the engine in a different way. Unlike in a traditional FPS, the game camera is placed inside a 3D model, so you can look down and see your whole body, and you actually exist in the environment, unlike the usual FPS standard of a floating head with one arm sticking out. It's got a Trespasser meets Arma meets Mountain Blade meets security breach feel to it. You may remember how in SSSB your character's gun and head could clip through the level. That's because instead of having a weapon model plastered to the screen, there's a camera inside your character's own head. It's an awesome effect when done right, and it can be very immersive. The guns also feel like they exist in real space, which makes them all the more satisfying. That was one of the redeeming features of Trespasser, and one of the things that makes Arma feel different from other games. The game also tries to prevent your gun from clipping through walls by having your character raise his gun when he's too close to an object. As a side effect, Most Wanted accurately portrays how full-size rifles are hard to use in close quarters, though unfortunately you'll get killed by bullshit a lot more than you'd like, as NPCs don't play by the same rules. At the risk of severely dating this video, that happens in Max Payne 3, which is one of the many ways the game bends you over the table. Dating this video? I'm talking about a budget game from 9 years ago! Where did I go wrong? Like I've come to expect from Fun Labs, the detail on the guns and the reloads are impeccable. The usual stuff is there, like hitting the bolt release on AR-15 pattern weapons instead of yanking the charging handle, shorter sequences for mid-magazine reloads, etc. The bullet impact effects are still good, spent brass falls on the ground and bounces off of walls, and the game does have some ballistic penetration modeling. Objects in the environment are no longer destructible or affected by physics, however, and large objects like cars don't have any bullet impact effects, which makes it seem like they're a figment of your imagination. One cool detail is that if you switch ammo in the 40mm grenade launcher, your character keeps the already loaded shell instead of ejecting it. Or how about this? If you holster an empty gun instead of reloading it, your character releases the slide so it'll fit. When you take it back out and reload, the animation is different because you have to pull the slide back instead of just hitting the slide lock. How many games do that? None. And your character takes his finger off the trigger when reloading. I thought Armor was the only game to do that. There are also persistent dropped magazines, which is rad and extremely rare in a first-person game, but sometimes the dropped magazine is the wrong model, meaning you drop Stanags from a G36 even though you can clearly see it's loaded with transparent magazines, or 9x39 Russian subsonic magazines from your 9mm handguns. But the best part is, your character only drops a magazine if it's totally empty. If you do a mid-magazine reload, he keeps the magazine, not dropping it on the ground, answering the age-old question, why don't your bullets disappear when you reload from a half-full magazine? Fun Labs has an answer for us. The guns are lower detail than in the previous Harm games, but that's what happens when you don't use the traditional first-person system of rendering. They still look surprisingly good, though. Sadly, the fluid and precise gunplay mechanics of In Harm's Way and Razor Unit have been put through the ringer. Because of the way you control an entire character model instead of just a floating camera, shooting and aiming are tough and feel very vague. It's like you're controlling a third-person character from a first-person camera. Your crosshair moves around a lot because of something Fun Labs calls dynamic crosshair. Not dynamic as in it reflects your current accuracy based on movement, stance, and recoil, but dynamic as in it supposedly projects the crosshair onto the environment. Whatever they call it, it's misleading and wobbly, so your best bet is to use iron sights, which in true Fun Labs form are properly rendered. Unfortunately, like in the other Harm Engine games, you can't use iron sights for pistols, but look at the weapon models, you can see the sights right there. To zoom in with scopes, you hold down the mouse button until the desired zoom level is achieved, just like with sniper rifles in the Unreal Tournament series. You can also do this with iron sights, which is a lot like the focus button in the Arma series, allowing you to take longer ranged shots with basic irons. Because the actual gun model is raised to your face, however, some guns clip through your camera and you can see through parts of them, which feels very lazy. Your first real mission is simple and short. Crazy short. You are tasked with executing a mobster in a restaurant. This is your first real clue that whoever Randall is, he's not a law enforcement officer. Most of the game is vigilantism, in fact, with the mobster being just about the smallest fish you fry with a 45 ACP subsonic slug. Aside from being pathetically short, literally less than a minute long if you don't waste time, this level is also notable for having civilian bystanders whom you can shoot with no repercussions. The next level is one of the handful in the game that open with cutscenes. The cutscenes are odd, with rarely any dialogue, but at least the voice actors speak fucking English.
We're in pursuit of a suspicious vehicle in the Biodome tunnel.
The lack of direction in the game makes some missions eye-forkingly hard. In this level, you're fighting bank robbers in a tunnel. You're warned some bank robbers will try to escape through the sewers, but they don't tell you how much time you have before that happens. They don't even tell you who the bad guys are. At first I thought these suit guys were on my side. They aren't. The policemen are on your side, and I guess so are the random construction workers. You can shoot them all if you feel like it, with no repercussions. The time limit on the mission means you have to kill the guys in the main tunnel while on the run, and then sprint through the sewers to the end. If you take a single wrong turn, you won't get there in time and you fail. Speaking of time, effortless segue, you have a watch for some reason. Pressing the T key will have your character raise his arm and you can see the watch right there, tattooed onto your wrist. It's a nice immersive touch, same with the way your character opens his multi-tool. All the same, there's never a reason to use the watch, so I don't know why it's in the damn game, and if you're wielding the knife, Randall brings his arm up too close to your face so you can't see the stupid thing anyway. How'd they mess that up? So, that was hellish, and it was only the 3rd level. But sewer levels are always bad, and I'm willing to give it a pass, because on the next level we get our very first Protect T. And that level is also appalling. Oh dear Christ. This took me 1,001 tries, and every time I failed I'd have to let it load the opening cutscene again because there's no retry option. If I hadn't been exaggerating, and I actually did play it 1,001 tries, that means I sat through 2,002 loading screens. Well, you start in a room with a doctor, a Mexican policeman, and a Protect T, and that's not just the setup for a bad joke. The witness is wrapped in so much gauze he looks like a mummy, so I shot him before he could feast on my entrails and failed the mission. That was my bad. But the next 999 tries went no better. Immediately after the mission starts, 4 bad guys enter a nearby room. The Mexican policeman always gets killed fighting them, so you have to do it yourself. Immediately after that, 5 bad guys enter another nearby room. The Mexican policeman is already dead, so you have to deal with those too. And it just keeps going. I got killed so many times in this level, and I started noticing some annoying quirks of the way the game controls. As mentioned earlier, your character puts his gun up instead of allowing it to clip through walls, which I'm all for. But he doesn't lower it again when he's past the obstacle. You have to click the mouse. So that means you have to click the mouse twice in order to fire from this gun-raised position. Enemies are scarily accurate, even on easy difficulty, and they usually aim for the head, scoring one-hit kills. Because of this, you'll be taking cover near doors all the time, and your character will always be putting his gun up. The unresponsiveness of the controls, combined with floaty aiming and sluggish movement, really sucks compared to in harm's way spot-on movement and gunplay. What's worse is, I'm not really sure I know what to do. The only hint you get is the stupid red text telling you to take the Protect T out the back exit. How? It took me a half-dozen tries before I even figured out how to get the Protect T to follow me. I knew there wasn't a squad command menu, so I figured it must be used to follow and tried that, but it didn't work. Using the Protect T doesn't do shit. Finally, after killing the first 2 groups of bad guys, who demonstrate exemplary AI and just rush the room like a bunch of lemmings with fucking ski masks, I ran back to the Protect T in desperation and tried one last time. And sure enough...
I'm coming with you.
What the fuck? Why did it work now? Did you see? I talked to him from behind. Yeah, you can only talk to the Protect T from behind. What the fuck? It still took me a ludicrous number of times to beat the level, even after I found an exploit that allows you to cancel out of a reload with an automatic weapon by firing, returning you to full ammo instantly. Even with what amounts to Perfect Dark's infinite ammo no reloads cheat turned on, I still could not beat this level for the longest time. And it's really short, only about 2 minutes long. Most of the levels in this game are about the same. You'll spend a huge amount of time trying to figure out what to do through trial and error, but once you know where the objectives and bad guys are, it takes only a few minutes. It's almost charmingly old school in that way. Almost. One of the best things in Secret Service Returns, though. Getting to choose your own inventory before each mission is still the best thing ever on the planet, and the carry weight actually comes into play for once. In Harm's Way told you what the equipment you took weighed, but the only impact it had on the game was how long you could sprint for, which wasn't really an important feature. In Most Wanted, you can only carry so much gear, so choosing weapons wisely is important. In theory, you can carry 2 primary weapons, a handgun, and as much ammo and explosives as you want, if you forego armor. Load up on the heaviest armor, and your options are significantly decreased. I wouldn't expect all the guns from In Harm's Way, because they changed the way guns are displayed so none of the old models would apply here, but there's still an impressive variety. And unfortunately, the entire explosives category is useless. It takes so long to switch weapons that trying to use hand grenades is a death wish, and the rest of them just serve no purpose in the style of missions this game has. Rockets and grenade launchers are unnecessary, especially because the launcher has a realistic but annoying minimum arming range, and claymores? What kind of game do you think this is? You don't even just place claymores, you actually set up a tripwire, which is a nice detail but confusing. Enemies don't actually pursue you, so you can't lead them into traps, and they don't have patrol routes you can exploit. It's also very hard to get the claymores to work correctly, and when you place them on the ground, they face straight up into the air. The game also doesn't have much of a sniper rifle. The closest it gets is the VSS Ventores, which is weak, inaccurate, and has a low-power scope. The way the inventory describes things like suppressors and scopes is confusing. Does this gun have a light? No. Okay, how about this other gun? None? Is that the same as no? Is that worse than no? Is none light even less light than no light? Does the VSS Ventores have a scope? Yes, okay, how about the G36? 3.5x? I'll take that as a yes, but why does the Ventores not have its magnification listed? Light or heavy, armor doesn't help you very much. Without armor, you'll be killed with a single shot to any part of the body. But no matter what, you'll still be killed with a single shot to the head, which is the only place enemies aim. If they do accidentally shoot you in the body or extremities, light armor will protect you from a single shot to the limbs and maybe a low-caliber shot to the torso. With heavy armor, you can withstand 2 shots to the extremities or 2 low-caliber shots to the torso. When enemies have assault rifles, however, which is all the fucking time, you'll be killed by a single shot to the torso regardless of armor. That means that the huge encumbrance caused by heavy armor is never worth it. If you want to feel like a badass, you can take 40mm shotgun shells for the M79 launcher, almost 10 years before Battlefield 3 offered a similar thing. Or you can load up like the Terminator, turn on the God Mode cheat, and engage in a little catharsis. Trust me, I really need it after playing this game, because the one-hit headshot kills and difficult mechanics result in constant cheap deaths. And now it's time for the world's most one-sided gunfights caught on fraps. Well, that was fun. And by fun, I mean skull-splittingly painful. We apologize for the inconvenience. Now, back to the game. The next mission with some serious red flags tasks Randall with assaulting a mansion in Mexico and killing everyone. Who am I? Since I don't get any background for these missions, I don't know what it is my character does. Is he a U.S. Marshal? I thought so because of the whole Most Wanted angle, but he spends all of his time assassinating dudes. You can catch them in their sleep? Jesus, this is taking on a whole I Am Legend angle, and I don't mean the Will Smith movie. Please, tell me why I'm killing these people. In Harm's Way had a cohesive narrative and also background details on every damn mission. Hell, even Razor Unit had an excuse plot, threadbare as it was. Fuck, even Security Breach told me what to do and why. Hell, ass. Crap. Dang. After that, you go to Eastern Europe. What's a U.S. Marshal doing in Eastern fucking Europe? Never mind, I don't care, and he probably isn't one anyway. Oh, an intro cutscene. Well played, Fun Labs. Hold on. Colonel Idgisi? Well, now you're making shit up.
Slovakia, a name that will forever be remembered by the paratroopers of the French Foreign Legion as the place where 3 of their comrades gave their lives.
Why were the French Foreign Legion in...
Slovakia.
Wherever they were. Who were they fighting? Why is Colonel Idgisi in prison? The answers to these questions and many more are not forthcoming in this game. Guess I'll kill some more guys now. After murdering every guard in the prison, infiltration optional, not recommended, you find Idgisi and talk to him, and he speaks in red text. Fuck. He says he'll tell you how to get to Varen, whoever the fuck that is, and then he has an aneurysm and stops talking. You can talk to him again, and he says exactly the same thing. You can talk to him again, and while he's in the middle of his whole spiel, you can shoot him with no repercussions. And he keeps talking in red text from beyond the grave. Finally? Where the find him? What the fuck did they write the script in? Notepad? Does nobody working for Fun Labs know what a spell checker is? In fact, since I hadn't really paid attention to the 6-word mission briefing, I didn't know what to do next, so I wandered around looking at shelves full of one damn book with a backwards cover and shooting prisoners. With, of course, no repercussions. Most of them can be found standing on their bunk beds, or more often, in their bunk beds. Character models look chunky and worse than in the previous 2 games, and the ragdoll is spazzier than usual. Not in the way they spaz out and clip through objects, that's been a part of the game since In Harm's Way, but in the way that ragdoll seems kind of choppy, like they're only animated once every few frames. You can choose between physics and animation for character deaths, but canned death animations just don't do it for me. Ragdoll is still one of the game's selling points, and it's a disappointment that it doesn't look as smooth as it did in Secret Service. Wading through swarms of bad guys takes a lot of ammo, and I can't seem to pick stuff up off of dead bodies. You can look at their inventory, and almost everyone is carrying hundreds of rounds for their chosen weapon, but you can't take the ammo. This means you can get royally screwed in a mission if you didn't take enough magazines. Recovering enemy weapons was possible and useful in the last 2 games in the Harm trilogy, but here it's impossible. You'll only have the ammo in the magazine, which, given the way guards go cyclic at the drop of a fucking hat, is usually 0 rounds. After the prison is an assault on Varen's castle. Whoever the hell Varen is. Seriously, I first heard about him 1 mission ago in a line that simply says, "Ask a GC about Varys." From this mission's briefing, you learn that Varys is a war criminal, but that's still pretty fucking vague. I'm starting to think the Red Text is behind it all. Randall is a brainwashed agent working for the Red Text Illuminati. Sometimes he moonlights with the US Marshals, tracking down and murdering criminals they can't get to otherwise, but his day job is assassinations. Phew. Now that I've rationalized myself as an assassin, I'll feel a lot better knifing all of Varys' guards to death in their sleep. Oh yeah. The first room you encounter in the level is the barracks with all the sleeping guards. Sometimes they take more than 2 stabs to kill, but the first one doesn't wake them up. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Aw, look at them, sleeping like little angels. Spare no one. Remember, just cut their heads are off, it don't mean they're dead.
Wait, I don't think they're asleep at all. What with their eyes being open? The level is a chaotic jumble of hallways and extremely long spiral staircases, but if you avoid contact, you can catch Varys in his sleep as well. His bedroom has a secret door, which is entirely unguarded. Knife him like the rest, and the Red Text congratulates you. The mission is over, but it's padded out absurdly. There's a lengthy escape level following it, which is only worth mentioning for the brain-meltingly obnoxious mazes with dart traps, and for a crashed marine helicopter in the woods, because... why? I think it's a reused model from Razor Unit, too. Finally, you get to a big room with a statue, because why not? The level is over, but the escape isn't. The next level is also part of the escape, only this time it's in a town, so you spend another couple of minutes sprinting aimlessly down empty streets. This town level is huge, and I only encountered 3 guards. A huge waste of a level. I thought the game was over at this point. I just killed a war criminal in Eastern Europe and spent not 1, but 2 levels executing my daring escape. So in the next level, you shoot some guys in an office building. There's even some out-of-place mission background in the form of a news broadcast with dramatic camera work. If you're not going to do this for every mission, then don't bother. Not like it even gives me an idea of what I'm supposed to be doing. Using my keen intellect, I was able to deduce that Randall was sent in to prevent another bombing by this unnamed mercenary group. Coolio, couldn't put that into a red text sentence, Fun Labs? I was all set not to talk about this level at all until this happened. Oh, red text, you devious bastards. It's not actually possible to stay out of the way of the SWAT troopers. They'll try to kill you if they see you. Evidently, Randall and the Red Text have no affiliation with the authorities. And as always, you can kill them with no repercussions. Actually, it's hard to even tell the mercenary bombers from the SWAT members. They'll get into gunfights, and since you don't know who the targets are and who the SWAT guys are, and they're all shooting at you, the only option is to level the area. For Christ's sakes, I know Randall and the Red Text Illuminati aren't the good guys, but wouldn't they want to minimize collateral damage? Even Agent 47 pays out the ass for unnecessary casualties, and he's an honest-to-God assassin! The last mission is to assassinate some mercenaries at a dockyard. You already know how I feel about dockyard levels. Kill! So I won't say much about it. The level is stuffed full of dock workers, whom you can slaughter by the dozen with no repercussions. Once you kill the last innocent dock worker, mercenary, the game ends, very abruptly. You see the police swarming the docks and Randall escapes into the night. If you needed further proof that you don't play as the good guys, here it fucking is. What? That's my fucking reward? Shitty cutscene, sure, but game complete. Not even a congratulations? You're not gonna tell me how winner I am? That's the best you can do? The Red Text can't spare a thank you for their brainwashed hitman? The credits roll over some concept art mocked up like a notebook, and there's actually something useful in here. If you look closely, one of the concept art pages gives the background of the character. So there is one. You came up with a story for the main character, but you didn't put it in the game at all. Go fuck an iceberg, Fun Labs. Apparently Randall's last name is Joyce, and he's a recently retired counter-terrorist operative. Now he kills people with the help of contacts still active in the intelligence community. Huh. Not bad, but I like my version of the story better. Now that it's over, I'd like to revisit something from the back of the box. Brain-tingling detective work? Remember all that brain-tingling detective work woven seamlessly into the game? I picked a lock and found a safe behind a picture once on the fucking tutorial level. There were never any locked doors to be found or any detective work to be done in the rest of the game. Blatant lies. Most Wanted is a weird one. I like a lot of what they did here, but most of it is compromised by poor execution. The way they use the first-person perspective is great and makes the game feel more immersive than it has any right to be. But at the same time, they let you use some unfinished third-person mode. What for? The camera is right behind your head, so you can't see shit. You can still enter sights mode, but all that does is make your character move his head back and forth.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Bottom line, this game is pretty bad. I have a hard time reconciling the lack of effort put into the levels and gameplay with the loving details and the guns. I wish the missions were longer and had more objectives, but mostly it feels like a finished engine waiting for a game to be made around it. Most Wanted, much like Razor Unit and Security Breach, feels unfinished. This one is not recommended. Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to hold this box up to the camera and make a surprised face. Oh, dear God in heaven! It's Roland. Matters to me. What? Okay. Sure. Well, I like reviewing Fun Labs games. Whatever. You have just finished watching ELOG11 BB05 US MWNTH. Holy shit. Hey, congratulations, you have stayed through the entire credits and the credits gag, and you're still watching because you must not have much of a life. Or maybe slightly less life than I do, since I sit around viewing shit like this all the time. Anyways, I am part of a new site that will be done soon or now called the Geek Hive. At the time of this recording, the website is not finished and up yet, but it might be by the time I finish editing the video. So I'm going to record two separate messages, one in case it's not ready yet and one in case it is ready, and then you'll just see whatever one is appropriate. No, worse luck, the site is not ready yet, but soon you will be able to go to geekhive.com to see reviews of movies, games, musicals, I think. Sometimes there's some weird guy who does that. Johnny Old School from JohnnyOldSchool.com will be there, as will the Cinemasochist, who did a cameo on my last episode, and a bunch of other cool people. Check it out. You won't regret it. And if you do, sorry, I didn't know.